Hey, hi. For those of you who've joined in early, the webinar is about to begin in a few minutes. You can make yourself comfortable, probably grab a cup of coffee and, yes, a notepad as well, because we are going to have an interesting session today. Before we get into today's presentation, I'd like to quickly ask for a favor. If you can just confirm on the chat saying that you can hear me, and if you can see my screen, you can make use of the chat window to let me know the same. A quick little confirmation here. If you can hear my audio loud and clear, and if you can see my screen clear as well. Wonderful, I've got the confirmation. So we are all set and we will be starting in a few minutes. A very good afternoon. Thank you for having taken the time to have joined me in today's presentation. This is Jay, product expert from Manage Engine. First things first, before we get into today's presentation, there are certain things that I want you to note. For those of you who want a copy of today's presentation, the video recording, all you got to do is towards the end of the session, there's going to be a form that's going to be coming up, and you got to just leave your email address and your request. Or if you want it to be still simple, just drop me a message on the chat with your email ID towards the end of the session. Yep, that's as regards to the video. If in case you want to try out the product ADManager Plus, we've got a cloud instance hosted just for this specific purpose. You can very well access the cloud instance from demo.admanagerplus.com. Make sure that you log in as the administrator to try out the features that we'll be talking about. I'm going to go ahead and have that specific URL shared to you. 3, 2, 1, and there you go. So that is going to be the URL that you will be needing to perform the cloud operations that I'm talking about. You can go on and try out and get hands-on when it comes to ADManager Plus. All right, that bit of ADManager Plus. Recording done, cloud installation for you all set up and done. As regards to questions, feel free to shoot your questions then and there. I'll try to take as many questions as possible during the course of session. And yes, we are here at the very start of today's session, and we'll be talking about empowering your help desk for AD management, your Active Directory management. So that is the agenda behind today's session. So why exactly did we go on to choose this specific topic? For long, organizations, especially the IT department, has served to be the fundamental pivot around which the entire operations revolve, starting with your user lifecycle management, where a new joinee enters into the organization. His accounts are provisioned across platforms, and then during the course of his life cycle, various modifications are made to the account. And finally, when the employee leaves the organization, accounts have to be deprovisioned. Such, at every point in time, at every single phase of a user's life cycle, they come in constant contact with the IT department. So they came IT services management and Active Directory management. For long, both IT services management and Active Directory management, like I pointed, have remained at the center of IT operations. But the problem is, have they gone hand in hand? Have we ever thought about an integration between your identity access management from a bigger perspective and IT services management getting together to perform tasks? Not really. So that is the exact solution that we'll be catering to, or the solution that we'll be handing over in today's session. So we're talking about getting Active Directory management done right from ServiceNow console. So that is the agenda for the day. I'm going to go ahead and start today's session with 4 common challenges that every help desk or every administrator faces. So I totally understand if you relate to all these 4 challenges. Pretty obvious, the ones that we go in day out, go through day in day out. The first one is the clumsy and tedious toggles that we do across applications. So it's almost the end of the week. You receive a mail from the HR saying that there are new joinees coming into the organization. There are 15 new joinees who have to be onboarded, and that definitely is going to be a problem. And why? That's because in an organization, we don't stop by creating accounts in Active Directory. We go further to create accounts in your Skype for Business, your Link, your Google Apps, your Office 365, and not to mention and not to forget the Exchange mailbox as well. So the rate at which the organizations are growing, the rate at which applications, be it your native on-prem or cloud applications, are being used or provisioned for employees is on an upward trend. So that being the case, right when the user gets created, the organization expects the new joinee to get to production right away. For that, it's pretty obvious that the IT help desk has to strain or put in extra effort just to make sure that accounts are provisioned across platforms. So this calls for toggles between multiple platforms. It becomes quite literally inevitable. So we've got multiple platforms right here. So we start off by a simple user creation request from the HR on our ServiceNow console, and then we get into Active Directory users and computers console, then go on to create Exchange mailboxes, and not to forget the cloud applications for which licenses have to be granted. So the very idea of user provisioning, though repetitive across platforms, still for long has been done in silos, has been performed one after the other. We've never thought about doing it all in one single go from one single pane, which is what exactly the integration is going to offer you. So we'll be talking about getting your user provisioning done across platforms in one go. We call it 360-degree user provisioning. No need to navigate between multiple windows. And when it comes to the overall operations, the rate at which you operate, the way in which you operate, it's going to be completely error free. And why do I say that? That's because you just have entries made in one portal and it's going to get automatically populated across portals. So that saves a lot of trouble for manual working, and that in turn reduces the probability of an error occurring. The next bit of it is the notifications. So if you were to go the standard way, if you're the old school type where you want to create a user using a simple PowerShell script, the one that's out here, not so simple, but yeah, it's definitely powerful. The only problem is it lets you do the exact same task, but one task at a time. And if some bit of the PowerShell script is gone wrong, you'll never know what exactly went wrong during the execution because you don't get real-time error notification. So that's a big problem. So you're stranded, you know, you do not have a way forward. So that's a big problem. And when it comes to organizations, there are going to be help desk technicians. Say let's take 5 help desk technicians in your organizations, and all of them have the task of provisioning users for different departments. So enforcing a standardization to the names of the users being created is going to be quite difficult because the IT technicians are to be manually intimated on the same. So instead, what if we have a simple process or a simple restriction in place that does that for you? And the last challenge when it comes to the toggles is handling duplicates. That's going to be a big problem. There's going to be a John Smith, and then there's going to be another John Smith always. So the problem with organizations is we are going to have users with the same name coming in all the time. So handling duplicates through the native way can get quite clumsy, and there's no streamlined way to get it done. So we're talking about integration between industries, two most competitive technologies. We're talking about IT services management and identity access management going hand in hand to perform all these tasks. Tasks like user creation, unlocking accounts, enabling the accounts, disabling an account or deprovisioning an account, resetting passwords, addition or removal from groups. So all those critical Active Directory management tasks that you'd ideally want to take note and perform right away can be performed the very same instance, the very next moment that you receive a request. So you don't need to write PowerShell scripts. You don't need to do it the native way using your Active Directory users in Computers Console, but instead we'll be giving you a solution through today's session that gets all of these challenges solved for you. All right. So the next challenge, which is more like a derivative of the first problem, is the manual mistakes that happen. So you get to key in data across platforms. There are high chances that it need not be accurate. There are high chances that something could go wrong. And we've seen in the past, we've got data that proves that it's always the administrator who gets blamed for something that's gone wrong. An error in an user's accounts active directory attributes, say for example some important attribute like group membership, it's going to be the administrator. Another error in terms of their properties that pertain to their contact or their department or their manager or anything for that matter, it's always going to be the IT admin who's going to be pointed at. That's because pretty simple, you're the guys who do all the hard work, and where there's hard work there are chances that something could go wrong. So we're trying to take that off the possibility chart, and it's just going to be pure simple empowerment where we hand over the actual task of making requests to the corresponding stakeholders involved. In that way, when the request is being made, it's not just going to be a simple text request. Instead, it's going to be an intelligent request. So that intelligent request, when lands into the administrator or the IT help desk's bin, it's going to be good to go. All that the technicians got to do is just verify the data and hit approve, just like that, and it's going to be incorporated in your Active Directory. I'm going to show you that in a while. Just wait for a while. So we're talking about two more challenges for the day. So in total, we're talking about four challenges. We've covered two, and there are two more left. The third one is the most annoying one, if I should say. Password management is a big problem in organizations. So based on statistics, research proves that almost 35% of calls that the help desk receives day in day out are for mere password resets. It's very obvious, and we can also understand that our end users or our employees keep forgetting their passwords all the time. You can't blame them. It happens all the time. But then who is going to be the one who's taking all the trouble to reset it? Obviously, it's the administrators, us. So we'd want a system in place. Obviously, it's our right to demand for a system in place that can get password management also done, which is password reset done right after we receive a ticket for password reset from within ServiceNow. So we're talking about getting all of those cool Active Directory management actions that we've always done through the not so cool way, which is the native way, into your Active Directory or into your IT services management tool, which is ServiceNow. And when I demonstrate, you'll understand as to how simplified the entire workflow becomes. All right. And the last bit of it is more like a consolidation of all the first three challenges that we've been talking about. Service level agreements. Yes, ITIL best practices are going to be in place. Help desk has to maintain a service level agreement, get going, get processing all those requests within a set span of time. And especially when it's a critical request, say for example removing a user from a group, the user's gone rogue, it's important that the administrator gets right to it, acts on it, and has the group membership removed, has the account deleted or disabled. All of that can be done immediately with no delay at all. The very next second the request lands into the portal, ServiceNow console, the request can be handled from the very same place. All right. So what is this integration offering you on the whole? We are talking about an end-to-end user management, starting with user creation till user offboarding, which is disabling or deleting the user, which also includes unlocking an account, enabling an account, resetting a password, and not to forget the features that have been added most recently, which is adding users to group and having them also removed from group. They are very critical when it comes to the group being a security group. You want an user to have instant access to some resource, which is most likely the reason why security groups are in place. And some important access has to be granted. In that case, there's no scope for a delay, or there's no scope for a wait time. In that case, this comes in handy. Likewise, the last example that I told you, where the user has to be removed right away from a group, that again can be made possible. For this integration to take effect, there are going to be just three simple, straightforward steps. And what are they? So here are the three simple steps. you got to get started by having your ServiceNow application or your plugin set up, and that's available on the ServiceNow store. I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to be sharing the ServiceNow App Store link for the application. So when I search Active Directory in the ServiceNow App Store, I've got ADManager Plus coming out to be the first and the top result. So I'm going ahead selecting ADManager Plus. I'm able to see that the application just got a recent update, and there's good news, guys. The application is in process to support Jakarta and the latest Kingston build as well. So the next release, which is expected to be out in another 10 or 15 days, will be supporting with all these management actions for Jakarta and Kingston as well. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly share the link for the application just for your benefit. And there you go. So that is the link for the application. If in case you want to try out the app right away, you got to just hit get the app. And once you're done getting the app, when you get back to your ServiceNow console and you're logged in as the administrator, you're going to see ADManager Plus. All right. So here comes the most easy bit of today's session, which is establishing the integration. All right. For establishing the integration, the first bit is from the ServiceNow side, where you say enable ADManager Plus menu, enable the catalog. Obviously, I'll want my users to have access to the service catalog. So that's a checkbox. And then I can go on and map the basic attributes where my product is hosted. So here, the server name is going to be ideally the server where ADManager is hosted. The port number is also specified. The MID is optional if you're running it on premise. If you're running it on the cloud, you wouldn't be needing this. If you're running ADManager Plus on premise, you will be needing this. So once this bit of the integration is done, the next bit is the part where you get to ADManager Plus. So giving you a quick overview as to what ADManager Plus is. So ADManager Plus is the Active Directory management and reporting tool from ManageEngine. When it comes to management, it lets you do an end-to-end AD management, including almost all possible objects that are out there, starting off with user management, computer, Office 365, so on and so forth. When it comes to reports, 200 plus reports, pre-prepared reports out of the box for you to just get going by generating them and performing tasks from the report. Today's module is going to be an integration. So when you download ADManager Plus and install, it could be even the trial version. If in case anybody wants the link, I'd be more than happy to share the 30-day free trial with you. You can go ahead, play around with the product, tell me how the integration rolled out. So administrator tab, integrations. Getting into the ServiceNow integration here, we can also see a quick glance at what is beside. We are able to see SQL Server and Oracle Database Server as well. How did this come into the picture? So yes, the integrations that we are offering with ADManager Plus also extend to industries, two of the most commonly used HR databases. The next instance, when a user is created in the HR database, the product is going to automatically pull up those users and have them created in AD. That's a possibility. Not deviating too much, getting back to the ServiceNow integration, which is today's topic. ServiceNow integration. Get the URL right. That's all. You got to get this specific URL keyed into your ADManager Plus. And when you say test connection, everything has to be established. Yes, the successful connection is in place. ServiceNow, the credentials are keyed in. Let's see if the integration is good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit to check if the integration is successful or if the integration has become two-sided. Perfect. So on both the sides, the integration has been updated. So the next thing that you'll know is right after the login is successful, you will be able to see a new menu right under the ADManager Plus plugin. It says user management, which is exactly what we'll be doing today. It has creation of users, deletion, disabling, enabling, password reset, the most commonly used one, unlocking an account that's locked out, and the last two are the ones that are recently added, which is addition to group membership and removal from group membership. So all this long, we've been just covering the basics of the ADManager Plus and ServiceNow integration. We just a while back set up the integration in two simple steps, one from the ADManager Plus side, getting into the integrations tab and keying in the URL, and the other from the ServiceNow side after having installed the plugin from the Play Store or the App Store. You just got access to this module where you have to enable ADManager and Service Catalog, key in the credentials, and hit OK for the integration to be in place. What next? Here comes the actual task for the day. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pretend to be the HR. Since the service catalog is enabled, I can choose the list of users for who this has to be applied. That's the same step that you usually follow in your ServiceNow console, assigning roles and assigning accesses to service catalog attributes. So I'm quickly logging off from the administrators portal and getting into end users portal. In this case, it's going to be Beth, and Beth is an HR. All right. And what do HRs do? They make requests all the time. So in this case, it's going to be one of these requests that are available for the integration. In this case, the request that Beth would want to start off with is the first request, which is user creation. So this module is what I was talking about. It becomes an intelligent request. And why is that? All that is required is in the form of templates. Any attribute that you'd want to be populated in Active Directory is already pre-filled through a template that's available here. So if I want a user to be created in marketing department, all right, let's say Jason Smithson, and don't peek into the password. I'm quickly keying in one, and then a random mobile number just for the demonstration. The title could be marketing manager, right? That's a fancy title. So it's the HR trying to create a user by just merely entering the first name, the last name, a password, and the title, which is ideally what a service request for a new user would have. But what's the only difference? The HR got to choose a template right at the very beginning. So the HR selected marketing department because Jason is going to be a part of the marketing department, and I'm going ahead and hitting submit. I also have the provision to choose the manager for this specific user. If you'd want, you can go ahead and very well do that. All right. So you can very well manually select the manager, or if you want to see the magic in action, let's just keep it simple, say submit and see what can the product do for you. All right, so the request has been successfully submitted to the IT team, getting back into the product as the IT team and checking for the incidents quickly. All right, I have a request for user creation. Wonderful. What does the request say? The request is for a specific user. All right, so here it's a user creation request. Just give me one quick moment when I update the incidents menu. Looking for incidents. I got the incidents. Yes, I've got the incident. All right, so I've got an incident for user creation. So all I got to do is, it says very clearly, create a user in Active Directory with the following data. When I right click, I'm able to see a list of newly added Active Directory management actions. And how has this been possible? How did the administrator or the help desk get hold of these actions? That's because we just integrated ADManager Plus with ServiceNow, and we enabled the service catalog as well as the AD plugins for the administrator. So we're able to see all these relevant management actions. So all I got to do is just key in the right action. In this case, it's user creation. The marketing department template is selected. The user attributes are already filled out. It's Jason Smith. Perfect, all good to go. And the only thing that I'll have to do is to go ahead and quickly hit submit. But then before I do this, since I'm the IT help desk technician, I can always tweak any of those attributes from the request. Let's say I want to keep a stronger password. All right, let's say I want to alter the second name, something like that. As and when, I'm just doing this just so that you understand that the requests are completely customizable, right? Let me say Jason Graham. Marketing department is selected. Manager attribute, I'm not filled out. I can go on and hit submit. Let's see what happens. All right, so the user has been created successfully. Pretty simple, straightforward. Now, one thing that I want you to note, the administrator did not do much. The administrator just looked into the request, got onto the request, and tried acting on the request by just having the action of user creation selected from the form context menu. So that was done. But then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly switch to ADManager Plus to see if this user actually got created with relevant properties. So getting into ADManager Plus, looking up for Jason Graham. All right, I have a Jason right there. Wonderful. And what do we see? We see that Jason's attributes, other attributes that were not actually mentioned in the request, are also filled out. The description says staff marketing. The organization unit is rightly pointed out. It says marketing department. How did this happen? All right, let's get to the next tab and see what more is populated. Oh, great. We've got the group membership also populated, right? It says marketing manager, field marketing staff. So related to the marketing department. And when I get into the contacts tab, even though I did not specify the manager is mapped right. Likewise, every attribute that is pertaining to this specific request, in this case, JSON being created in the marketing department, is already pre-filled and laid out for me. How was this possible? All that the HR did was fill out the first name, the last name. All that the help desk did was just approve the request after some basic edits. And like magic, we are able to see all relevant Active Directory attributes populated. So here comes the most interesting part in today's session, which is user creation templates. So when the HR made the request for user creation, all right, the HR got to select a template from the list of templates that are available. So these templates are ideally the AD Manager templates, the ones that are part of the ADManager Plus product, and they call as the user creation templates. And these templates serve to be the game changer. Why do I say that? Because all the templates are mapped based on either a department or based on either a role. In this case, the template that I had chosen was marketing department for Jason. When I get into the marketing department template, I'm able to see that the values pertaining to the marketing department are already filled out in this standard layout. So we're able to see values pertaining to the description filled out, the attribute pertaining to the container or the organization unit is filled out. Likewise, any required attribute can be pre-filled, and this is going to form the fundamental behind the integration. So this is going to help you simplify the entire onboarding process, because almost any Active Directory attribute or an Exchange mailbox for that matter can be created pre-specified with the required properties. Or if it's Office 365 or Google Apps that we're talking about, Office 365 accounts can be created, licenses can be assigned from the templates, can be pre-specified based on a condition, in this case the department, and like magic, all of it is going to get populated in Active Directory. And it also extends to G Suite and Office 365 if you just choose to enable this in for this specific template. All right, very simple, straightforward. So just for clarity's sake, I'm going to get back to user creation templates and show you what more is available in user creation templates. So we've got a template for the HR, we've got one for IT, we've got one for sales. You guessed it right, there are templates for roles as well. So when you have a new joinee coming into the organization, when the HR makes a request for the new joinee, all the attributes pertaining to the new joinee, starting with keeping the group membership very basic to attributes very basic, all of that is covered through the templates module. All right, so the next time when you have a request from the HR, it's not going to be a plain simple request on which you have to manually act on. Instead, it's going to be an intelligent request, because the right template was selected, and since you're the administrator, you also get to perform certain required modifications and just hit submit to magically have the user created across platforms. That is the first most important use case that I'd want you to know for the day, which is user onboarding. So likewise, the integration offers you a lot of other AD related tasks. So we just got the integration configured. We saw how the admin was able to do a 360-degree user provisioning with the help of smart templates. We also saw, or let me say, we also are going to see how an end user can make a request for password reset or account unlock. So that is going to be the next task for the day. So let's quickly get into the service catalog and see what does this integration let me do. What more does this integration let me do? So I want to reset an user's password. All right. So pretty simply, I can key in the new passwords to which it's got to be reset to. I can select the user. In this case, it's going to be John. I'm going to quickly go ahead and key in the password. All right. Password that has to be filled out, and as a best practice I can always choose this option which says change the password upon next logon. So this is going to help me ensure that the user not only changes his or her password, John does not just change the password but also gets to maintain or adhere to the security password policy. So when I say search, it's going to give me a list of all Johns that are out here in my organization. All right, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pick John Smith right here and say submit request. So the request has been successfully forwarded. The HR, it could be the HR or the line manager or the corresponding user himself. When they have access to ServiceNow, they can make requests for AD password resets. All right, so that's done. Switching back to the administrator to check if I've received the requests under my incidents tab. A quick moment for that. Getting into my incidents module. So what we are planning to do is, at this point in time, we are supporting multiple requests. So we've got a new request. Let's see what request we've got. So looking up for incidents. Do I have a request for reset password? Oh, wonderful. I've got a request for user password reset. All right, so it says reset password for the Active Directory user. So now I'd want to quickly select the required action and say user password reset. And since I had already selected the right user, the details are mapped rightly as per my requirement. If in case I still want to change any of these attributes, I can always do that and hit submit, which is going to reset the password for Johnny Depp. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. So that way, the entire process, which could have ideally taken multiple number of calls from the specific user to the technician, is successfully, circumvented, is successfully bypassed. Instead, the technician got a request from the user for a password reset, and even before I was able to act on that specific request, select the user, have the password reset from the very same module. So that way it becomes a lot easy on every part. All right, so the next bit that I'd want to discuss is the process where you get to alter a user's attribute. In this case, group membership is what we'll be talking about. So password reset is done. Account unlocking, enabling or disabling works more or less in the very same fashion. I'm going to show you that as well. Before that, let's talk about group membership. All right, so getting into the requests module or incidents module, let me quickly check if I'm able to see any group membership requests. Do I have a request? Great. So I have a request for removing a user from a specific group. Likewise, I also have a request for adding a user to a specific group. So how did these requests come in place? Again, it's going to be the end user having the provision to make these service requests. All right. Service catalog, ADManager, add or remove a user from a group or to a group. So let's take add user to a group. I can say the user, all right, search for the specific user. It's going to be John Smith. And then I can go on and add groups to which John Smith has to become a part of. So John Smith has been performing exceptionally well, and thus John Smith gets access to all critical groups in the organization. He's given a promotion so he's made a part of the domain admins group. Let's say, for example, or to keep it simple, we can also always choose simple groups. So John needs to have access to the marketing related groups. Quickly looking up for marketing groups. Yes, we've got marketing groups. I'm saying okay, marketing groups selected for that specific user, John Smith. All right, and all I got to do is create the request. So this could be the line manager who is a requester in your Active Directory requesting for this group membership, or addition for John into these groups. So the next thing is obviously the administrator has to look into that request, see how to cater to that request. So incidents tab, getting into the incidents module, incidents, the ones that are for user, adding a user to a specific group. All right, so I'm going to quickly go ahead and say this request, John Smith Adam, has to be made a member of the field marketing staff, the group that I just keyed in, and I'm going to quickly go ahead and say add user to the group. What do I have? I've got the user rightly selected and the corresponding groups mapped as well. So I can always choose to edit the groups. I can choose to add more groups, or I can choose to remove existing groups, because I am the administrator and I get the provision to make such changes. So here I'm just going ahead with the request, the initial request that was made, and I'm just sticking to the basic request. All right. If you want me to show you additional removal, I can very well do that. Perfect. So I'm going to show you how to add one more group. All right. Let's not stop. So let's, for example, say John is also getting to be a part of some sales related group. Oh, great. I have a sales group. I'm saying okay to that as well. So now when you see, it's going to be field marketing and sales. So the request was received. The request was acted upon. Customizations, if need be, can be made. And when I hit submit, the user is going to have access to all the groups that have been just selected. So the user has been successfully modified. We've got the notification as well. So John Smith has now effectively got member into these two critical groups, right after the request was received in under a few seconds. So that is the rate at which we are talking about, the rate at which we are trying to perform Active Directory actions. So likewise, if there is a disable user request, if there is a remove user from a specific group request, all of that are going to be important again, which are performed in a very similar fashion, just like I showed you a while back. It's going to be an end user making a request from the service catalog for any of the tasks that are listed right here. I just showed you how to create a user, the benefit of having user creation templates in ADManager Plus. I went on to show you how to reset passwords. I just a while back showed you how to add a user to the group. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to disable a user. Let's take John again. So John's the hero of today's session. I'm taking John again and choosing to disable a specific user. All right, it's going to be John Smith. I'm saying submit the request. The request has been updated to your IT team. Getting into the system administrator's account, let's quickly check if I've received the request. Incidents. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and look for the request that I've received. All right, I've got a disable user request. Yeah, it's right here. So I'm going to quickly get into the request. All right, again, it's for Johnny. Simple request. I'm saying disable AD user. The data is rightly picked up, and when I hit submit, Johnny is going to be disabled. So the flow is straightforward, it's one way, and it works for every action that we are discussing all through today's session. There's going to be a request from the corresponding stakeholder. It could be the HR, it could be the very user who wants his password reset or account unlocked, or it could be the line manager anybody for that matter. And all those AD tasks that we're talking about, Active Directory tasks, are going to get transcended into requests with intelligent data being simultaneously mapped to every request. And when the administrator tries to perform from the form context menu, all that the admin's got to do is look into the request, check for its authenticity, and hit submit, and you'll be able to see the request being processed right away. So here we're able to see that the account is also again successfully modified. The request has been approved. The request has got incorporated. So just so that we can have more clarity, I'm going to look for Johnny Depp's account and see if the user is actually disabled in Active Directory. All right, looking for Johnny Depp, getting into the user properties, getting into the accounts tab, and yes, bam, the account is disabled. So like you already noticed, ADManager gives you a quick overview of the account properties and attributes in a simple layout, unlike your Active Directory users in Computers Console. Here we just had the integration done, the action performed, and also verified. All of this back to back in one simple integration or in one simple console. So there might be a question in your mind right now. So how does this integration work on the background? So, or in other terms, how am I going to get to see which technician performed what action and how did this exactly go through? Or do I have a provision to keep track or keep tab of everything that got done? Yes, that's going to be possible. And that's what is going to take us to the next bit of today's session. We are talking about Active Directory delegation, AD audit reports, which are going to give me a list of all those tasks that just got executed. So here I'm able to see every single modification done through ServiceNow. So this way it's going to give me a tremendous advantage in terms of auditing. So I'll not have a problem when it comes to keeping track of which action was performed when. I can have data, time specific data. I have all those actions the user created, the user modified, the attributes changed, the user reprovisioned, deleted, password reset. Every single thing that's done through the ServiceNow module is going to be recorded rightly with the action also specified. So that way you get to see the object on which the action was performed, the time at which the action was performed, the format or the integration that was used to perform, and the action as such that was performed. So we are talking about a holistic approach towards Active Directory management by not just letting you perform AD tasks, the ones that we were talking about all this long from the service catalog that a user gets to have access to, all those AD management tasks like user creation, user disabling, user deprovisioning, enabling an account, adding or removing to a group, unlocking an account or reset password, but also at the same time keep a tight watch or tab on anything and everything that is performed through this specific integration. All right, so almost we've neared the end of today's session. I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick overview as to what all we discussed and a little more after that. So we were talking about having ADManager Plus and ServiceNow integrated through just a two-step process. One from the ADManager side where we keyed in the basic credentials, and the next one from the ServiceNow side where we keyed in the ADManager credentials. Then we saw how the admin had the ability to create users using smart templates, the ones that I showed you, user creation templates. And then we got on to the bit where the end user got to reset his password or make a request for account unlocking. And finally, we also discussed as to how from the form context menu, the one menu that is all powerful, from the form context menu, how did we get to perform those tasks right away, and how those requests turn from being plain simple textual requests to intelligent requests that can get our AD management tasks done. So just a few more screenshots, the ones that could probably help you understand the whole process better. Once the service catalog is enabled, your users can make requests for any of these tasks that are listed right here. Then after having the integration setup, and after having received the request, your administrator or technician can perform a task like user onboarding, selecting the right template. And like you can see here, it says Office 365, Google Apps, and all of those accounts provisioned simultaneously. When the integration is set up fully, you'll be able to perform this as well. All right, and the last bit of it is again getting to perform these actions through the form context menu. You all of a sudden, all along, the one menu that we've been using to perform other actions to just resolve your service requests or cater to a service centric approach of doing your IT services management has for now changed into an action based system where you can perform any of these tasks that are listed right here. All right, so on the whole, if you'd want me to sum it up, I'd call it the essential toolkit for effective AD management. And in this case, it's not just Active Directory management, but then an integrated approach towards Active Directory management. So my only request is go ahead, download the product, give it a shot. It's free for 30 days. You can go on and try implementing the integration. Just in case you have any troubles implementing the integration, you know who to contact. I'm going to go ahead and have my email ID shared. It's going to be jay@manageengine.com. So that's my email ID for you. All right. So that is going to be a wrap on today's session. It was my pleasure bringing to you the empowerment of ServiceNow through this integration, where we saw how ServiceNow users, the technicians, the help desk, the end users, all of them get to be a part of the organization's Active Directory management, and the whole process of IT AD management has become cool for a change, has become simple and less stressful for a change. So it's going to definitely ensure an overall change in the organization's productivity, be it the rate or pace at which you perform these tasks, or the amount of man hours that are spent, or the total savings that you get to perform through this integration. Just one example to quote for finally, it's going to be password resets that you can completely forget of. No more calls, no more long queues. You can get them done right away at the very next instance when you get a request. Security related problems, Active Directory groups to be managed, yes, add members and remove them right away. You want to deprovision some user who's left the organization, do that as well. And all of that is going to be possible because of this specific integration, which is the ADManager Plus ServiceNow integration. Thank you once again for being such a wonderful audience. I'm available at the chat to take all your questions right now. This is Jay, your presenter for the day, signing off. You all have a great day. The module where we are talking about user provisioning, where it happens through the 360-degree way, which is the user creation template. Stands for the question, Johnny. So we're talking about user creation templates once more. So 360-degree user provisioning is going to be possible by easily enabling the Google Apps and Office 365 integration. These are straightforward integrations that are straight out of the box, and that is going to work based on the simple inputs that you give in this console, and it's going to transcend to Google Apps and Office 365 as well. So here we are able to see there are certain fields, and right next to the field, we've got logos as well. So these are the attributes that are going to go from your ServiceNow to Active Directory and then to your corresponding cloud application like either Google app or Office 365. Just for clarity's sake, how is this working? When you get in the admin tab, we're able to see that the integration is possible because it's simple with these credentials, the admin credentials for either Office 365 or the G Suite. All right. So we're talking about a 360-degree user provisioning once again. I hope I've answered your question, Johnny. Thank you for that. All right, so that is going to be a wrap on today's session. You all have a great day. See you. Tada. Bye bye.